welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone, this is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today my guest is Nick. Thank you, Nick, so much for being my guest and accepting the invitation.
Thank you so much for having me, Mariam. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Okay, would you like to present yourself and we will go from there?
Sure. So my name is Nick. I'm the CEO of IdeaScale. We are the largest innovation software company on the planet, serving organizations as diverse as Pfizer, the US Post Office, Comcast, etc. Our software helps large organizations solve the problem of innovating faster, better, and more systematically. As for me personally, I grew up in a mix of India, Canada, and the United States. Studied mathematics and physics for undergraduate, then spent 10 years working on Wall Street as a professional investor. Did my MBA at Harvard Business School, and since then I've run 3 companies ranging from a $100 million trucking company to a $2 million men's shoe startup, and now I have the great privilege of running IdeaScale.
Amazing. Okay, I'm sure we will have great opportunity to ask some questions. And let's start from general one. So what do you think about digital transformation? What is it for you?
Sure. So I think digital transformation is a very, very broad term, but to me at least, it means taking processes that were done in a traditional, non-technological way and applying modern technologies and computer software to do those processes either cheaper, faster, or better.
Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned some points. I think we can go from the middle when you said about cheaper. A lot of people think that it's very expensive to do the digital transformation. And what are your thoughts there? How can a company or a person that is thinking about digital transformation, how they can manage the budget so they are able to parallelly change stuff to automate and also not kind of have that big amount of money given to them?
Sure. So I'll relay an anecdote. I spent the first half of my career in Wall Street where the entire philosophy of how you did things was you're making an investment today for the future, right? If you're investing $100, if you know you're going to get $150 back a year or 2 years from now, that's a great decision, even though it cost you $100 today. And digital transformation or any form of change for an organization is an investment in the future. So, yes, moving from a manual set of processes to a more digital set of processes often will require changing processes that are deeply embedded. It may require buying additional technology, and those are expensive, but you have to think about the return on investment that you get at the other side of the transformation. And to give you an example, a piece of software costs $50,000, and that may allow you to automate processes that have cost you $500,000 and $1 million a year. So you should absolutely be willing to spend $50,000 today in that digital transformation process in order to achieve $500,000 or $1 million of savings and productivity increase a year from now.
Agree, definitely. I think it's all about the forecast that you are actually giving. And a lot of my guests are mentioning about the plan, which is one of the most important things as an increment for being able to do the digital transformation. Do you think there are some other things that we need to take into account when we are just starting the process? What are those things that are coming to your mind?
Sure. So I run a software company. I'm a big believer in the power of software to do things very, very effectively and very, very scalably at a attractive cost. But setting that aside for a moment, I think people need to realize that software by itself doesn't solve everything. You have to understand what is your business's goals, or organization doesn't have to be a private sector business. What's your organization's goals, and how can technology help you achieve those? Are those cost savings? Are those scalability? Are they able to attract a broader audience, a different product set? And I don't think it's effective for you to begin a digital transformation or any form of transformation unless you've laid out what are the goals and how does this transformation help you achieve.
Yes, agree, definitely. It's so important generally to have that goal. I mean, whatever you are starting, understanding why you are doing it and to what you want to come, it's so important. And when we are speaking about this path, I think it's important to understand who is along with you in that on that way. So what do you think about who should be around you? What kind of people should be there for having successful digital transformation?
Sure. I'd say you need at least three types of people. Number one are people who actually believe in the change, and it's not something that was ordered by someone very senior, but
Mm-hmm.
actually people who want to make this change because they believe it's right. Because there's nothing in the world that quite replaces sincere belief.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two, you do want institutional organizational support, someone who can speak for the organization and saying, this is why we've made this
Mm-hmm.
decision, and I'm going to personally shepherd it to execution. Um, and then third is technologists. If you're talking about digital transformation, you actually have to have someone who understands the technical side of things, which is a
Yeah.
very valuable skill set that sometimes people underappreciate. Software is a
Mm-hmm.
skill set no different than playing music or being a mathematician or a great athlete. You want great
Mm-hmm.
technologists as part of your team.
Agree, definitely. And when we are speaking about experience, I think it's also important about sharing that experience somewhere when we can keep it, like a documentation or any paper that will show the process and the progress that was done during the implementation or like when we are starting the digital transformation. And when we are speaking about this, there is also one thing about technologies that we are using. So, what do you think? What kind of technologies we should have? Or is there anything based on your experience that it's successful for digital transformation to use that technology?
So again, digital transformation is a really, really broad phrase, right? You're implementing some form of technology, either new or replacing existing technology. So the types of technology you'll need are obviously twofold. Number one is whatever the new technology that you're implementing or the new piece of software you're implementing is. But
Mm-hmm.
second, maybe a change management system. And there's a lot of interesting change management or project management systems out there that their entire business or their entire reason for being is that they help companies who are undergoing transformations of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agree. And well, I think one of the technologies that a lot of people are now speaking about is the AI-based tools, right? So, do you think it's really helping, or is more of a disturbance to have AI featured technologies used for digital transformation?
Sure. So again, AI is a really broad term. I think you're referring specifically to generative textual AI that's taken the world by
Mm-hmm.
storm over the past 2 years. Firstly, I should say that we at IdeaScale, me personally, are big believers in the power of generative AI technologies to increase productivity. So we use it in almost every department. Our sales department, our marketing department, our software engineers use copilots. I use it in my personal life to decide what my exercise is going to be
Mm-hmm.
or what gift I'm going to get my wife for her birthday. So I believe
Mm-hmm.
these technologies are extraordinarily powerful when people are trained to use them effectively and when an
Mm-hmm.
organization actually believes in using them effectively. At the same time, I want to draw two caveats. Number one, actually, three caveats. Number one, the technology today does not fully replace AI technologies today, at least as they stand today, don't replace
Mm-hmm.
human beings, right?
Yes.
They still have some failings, whether you call them technical hallucinations, blind spots, lack of
Mm-hmm.
uh, domain specific knowledge. There's a lot of gaps that today the technology doesn't solve. And it might in 5 years, it might in 5 months, I don't know, but at least today these AI technologies don't replace humans. Number two
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of people have not actually taken the trainings on how to use these technologies
Mm-hmm.
effectively. They've just logged onto ChatGPT and asked it some questions. But the really cool thing is you can actually use these technologies incredibly powerfully if you actually go learn how to do them well. So one good example of this is there's a famous way to use ChatGPT called the persona pattern. You tell ChatGPT, act like a world class CFO, or act like a marketer, or act like a rap star. And it can
Mm-hmm.
behave or act like a 5 year old, I think is one of my favorite ones. And you can actually, by telling it to act like something, it taps into some very, very deep knowledge within its training matrix. And then
Yeah.
the third is AI is every software company in the world has started marketing themselves as an
Mm-hmm.
AI company, or that we have AI functionality for this or that. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
bad decision, I think. AI has a place. Again, we believe in it very strongly here at IdeaScale. We use it both internally and for our software, but AI does not need to be in everything, right? There are some places where AI adds no value and, in fact, adds complexity.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. And when we speak about the AI and generally like about as you mentioned that it's really supporting, I think we should always mention about the communication that is coming with the support and on any tool that we are using, right? So do you have any specific techniques of the communication that you think will help to make the communication as productive as possible to have the successful digital transformation?
Sure. So I think that very much depends on the culture of the organization, and B,
Mm-hmm.
the style of communication that a leader is effective at. In terms of the culture of an organization, if you're sitting at Goldman Sachs, you're going to communicate very
Mm-hmm.
differently than if you are working for the American Heart Association, right? Those are
Yeah.
both great organizations, but the culture of the AHA is very, very different than Goldman Sachs. And the way you would communicate to a bunch of investment bankers at Goldman Sachs or on Wall
Mm-hmm.
Street would be very different than the way you would communicate to equally intelligent individuals at a major
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit like the Red Cross. So number one is the style of the organization, because you have to respect the culture of the people who work there and the norms of that organization. The second thing that's really important is for the leaders who are engaging in digital transformation, what are their natural strengths and how they like to communicate and are able to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. So I'm really good at communicating in tight bullets, very directly, and
Yes.
very succinctly. If you ask me to use a lot of flowery language, I'm going to set myself up to fail because that's not my
Mm-hmm.
strength, right? So I think any leader, when they're communicating change, particularly difficult changes, as sometimes digital transformations can be, needs to both tap into the organization style of communication as well as where their own strengths lie as a leader and a communicator.
I see. Awesome. Well, when you are looking back, what are some key lessons or insights you gained from so far from digital transformation in your experience?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned and continuously relearn, because I'm always surprised by this, is just how powerful technology and software is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was trained as a mathematician. I've been very technical from a very young age, but I'm always blown away just by how cool technology is and what the cool things you can do with it. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
a really basic example again. Well, I'll give two basic examples. Number one is you can use software to decide a great gift for your spouse, for your child, for your parents. That's really a really
Mm-hmm.
cool application case. And that's surprising that you can do that in what you would assume is a very sterile piece of technology. The second is technology can you make your life so much more efficient in ways that you just did
Yes.
not imagine, right? And a simple example of this is if you're interested in, let's say, Pokemon, right? You can set up a Google alert for Pokemon, and that's just all of the information that's relevant to Pokemon coming to your
Mm-hmm.
door instantaneously. And that's a really simple automation that gives a
Right.
tremendous amount of value. And when you discover, or when I discover these new ways that technology can improve my life and both
Mm-hmm.
make it more efficient and happier, I'm always positively surprised and reinvigorated by the power of technology.
Yes, amazing. And when we are speaking about the lessons learned, I think there is also one part of it about the processes that we can identify generally for digital transformation. Do you have any suggestions or hints for our audience how they can point out or find the weak spots in the process to start from? Because I mean digital transformation as it is really big thing, right? But you need to start from somewhere. So how you will suggest to identify the parts that can be improved or started with?
I think the simple answer, and I don't mean this flippantly, is look for the things that cause people the most pain. Anything that is
Mm-hmm.
causing your human staff pain or requiring a lot of repetitious activity is something that a piece of software can do better and therefore merits
Right.
being investigated as an opportunity for a technological transformation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agree. And about the people, so as we spoke at the beginning, the fear of digital transformation is usually coming specifically from people that think will be caused, like on the negative side, that think they will be negatively caused by the digital transformation. What kind of suggestions you have, like what we can do to make sure that they understand why we are doing it and they are not going to be replaced, if you think that they are not going to replace, of course.
Sure. So technology does, in many cases, replace people, right? That's a reality of the world. It can
Mm-hmm.
also augment people, right? I'm much smarter through my use of technology than I would be, if I was using pen and paper or technology from 30 years ago. So let's not
Mm-hmm.
lie or kid to ourselves that technology doesn't take away jobs, but it creates other jobs. I think I'll answer in three ways. Number one, accept the reality. Technology does take away, it does destroy some jobs. Number two is if you're not making the changes in your organization to continue to innovate, your competitors are. That's something that we really believe strongly at IdeaScale, that if we're
Mm-hmm.
not innovating, someone else out there is. So I need to continuously be
Yes.
advancing my organization because my competitors are not standing still. And that's true
Mm-hmm.
for your organization. If you're not making those digital transformations or other process changes,
Yes.
it's your competitors are, and you're falling behind.
Right.
Number three is anybody who is afraid of change
Mm-hmm.
is probably someone who's holding your organization back. Every
Mm-hmm.
organization needs to move forward every day. And if someone is, understandably selfishly, if they're trying to protect their job, that's an understandable human state. But if they're preventing
Yeah.
your organization from moving forward, they are probably someone who's making really poor decisions for your organization. And you need to assess whether that person is the right fit for your organization in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Agree. I think the human part of the digital transformation is really interesting. And generally, when we speak about that part, it's again about the communication with them, about the transparency that there should be. And as you mentioned, that of course people can be replaced, but I think when they understand why you are doing it, they are able to support and they can continue the work, just being the part of that process, which is now faster, better, right? And all that stuff. So definitely agree there as well. And when we speak about the part of digital transformation in big companies, do you think that digital transformation is different in small and big companies? Or it is the same thing, just like managed differently?
So change at most larger organizations is more difficult than at small organizations. There's more
Mm-hmm.
people, there's more inertial mass that you need to move, there's more history often. And the longer something's around, the bigger it is, the more difficult it is to move on average. This is not always true. So I think that's the biggest change, right? In a small organization, if you need to change if you're 10 people, you get together in a room and just agree, we're all changing. And that's easy the communication is, one over one coffee session, one lunch, one beer, one glass of wine, whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when you are at a large organization of 100,000 people, you don't, you can't, even if you get everyone on the same Zoom call, they don't all understand what you meant. They'll all have their own
Mm-hmm.
independent questions and how it affects them. So communication becomes more ineffective and complex. And even after the communication phase, the implementation phase, you have a lot more moving parts to manage. So while
Mm-hmm.
the goals of small and large organizations for any form of transformation are reasonably similar, the actual tactics of implementing them are probably going to be dramatically different between large versus smaller organizations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agree, definitely. Well, I think this will be my last question regarding the advice. So, what advice would you offer to other companies to take into account when they start their digital transformation journey?
Sure, I'll offer two pieces of advice. Number one is transformation is fun. It means something new, right? You can get to do
Mm-hmm.
something cool and new, and change is always fun for to do versus doing the same thing over and over and over. Think of it like a different meal instead of if you had to eat a burger every single
Yeah.
meal, 3 meals a day for the rest of your life. The second is on the more negative side or more paranoid side. Remember, if you're not transforming, your competitors certainly are. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
strong imperative to continue to evolve as an organization, to continue to innovate, to continue to get better, Because if you're not, the person across the street certainly is.
Yes. Well, such good points. Agree with both of them. Amazing. Okay. Well, anything else, Nick, from your side before we will wrap up this episode?
Sure. So I'll offer a small pitch for our own organization. We've been around about 15 years now. We really focus on one part of the of technology, which is specifically technology that helps organizations innovate. So once they've decided we want to be a more technologically forward and innovative organization, that's where our software comes in. So I'd love if folks
Mhm.
checked us out. We're entirely free for small organizations. If you're below 100 people, our software is totally free for you. Obviously, if you're larger than 100 people, we would love for you to come be a customer of ours. Our website is
Mhm.
ideascale.com.
Amazing. I'll make sure to put that in the post in LinkedIn with the episode link to YouTube as well. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and sharing with us all those amazing thoughts that you have. Really appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, Mariam, for having me on your show.